Frank Stronach's bullish Basquian picked the most fortuitous frontier for revenge on Bruce's Mill and Parental Pressure, winning the plate, peaking at just the right time for trainer Danny Vella.
Being the favorite in there means that you're actually at this point, you're doing the best. So that really doesn't bother me. I think the logistics of the race really, that can bother me a little bit. There's three other speedier horses in there. I'll be dead last, and if there's a false pace up front, that could hurt my horse.
Three-time winner Von Fleet will appreciate the condensed distance of the Prince of Wales, which better suits his potential for concentrated speed, a commodity that will surely complement Basquian.
He's got natural speed to be, not too far off the pace or maybe even on it. I certainly won't make a difference. It probably will help him a little bit, a little shorter. I'm not really that concerned about a shorter or further distance with this horse. If he decides to fire, he'll be right there.
Bruce's Mill will take his lead from record-setting stablemate Peetsky and looking to give owner Earl Mack back-to-back Prince of Wales wins. The plate runner-up will be more focused today with blinkers added.
He's been training very well. He had a super work the other day, and he's ready. He's ready to go. He'll have no excuses, and we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Parental Pressure's resiliency is one of his most skillful traits, and after a third in the Queen's Plate, he hopes to show enough elasticity today to bounce back favorably. Switching to Mickey Walls.
In a short field like that, the smartest jockey usually will win it. He doesn't have to, well, he has to have a nice horse, but the one which can outsmart the other one will win. When you got 6, 7 horses, it's a little bit easier because you can't worry about only 2 or 3, you worry about 5 other ones. So that makes a difference.
On me, and usually at this point, like Jim said, some horses do start showing a little wear and tear. This horse gets better every time I work him. He's getting better every time he's run. I think it's a little to do with his breeding. We'll keep our fingers crossed. If he runs to his training, he should be very tough today.
Well, he certainly looks grand to me, and I think you got an excellent chance. Best of luck in the second leg of the Triple Crown.
Thank you very much.
And speaking of Triple Crowns and Jewels,
following the Queen's Plate, you made some comments that perhaps ruffled some feathers about losing the mount on Parental Pressure. Your thoughts 3 weeks later?
Well, I mean, like you say, it was 3 weeks later, and I had a statement to make. I made it across, and now we'll let sleeping dogs lie.
Some tense moments around the far turn for you in the Queen's Plate, Jack, where Basquian tried to jump some shadows, and we have it here on the monitor, and that's you on the outside in the blue and the white cap. Take us through it.
Well, it was kind of an exciting point for me. I looked like I was going to win it, and then all of a sudden there was a big shadow in front of me, and the horse jumped way in the air. Kind of threw me off stride. My feet come right up out of the stirrups, and thank God, being that I'd had a little experience with jumping last year with the Team Canada, and the jockeys competing against each other, so it kind of helped me out. So I thank the Team Canada for that, but it was an exciting moment.
Have another shot here, Jack. Was there any concern of yours at all that this horse might lose his momentum?
Figuring such a big gangly horse like him, I figured it would, but he didn't. He come right down on his feet, landed perfectly, and like he knew what he do and did. Maybe in the future, it's going to be a future for him being a jump horse or something.
Jack, you had some hot pace to run at in the Queen's Plate, 3/4 and 11, just a 4-horse field. Are you at all concerned about pace in here?
Well, I think the pace might be just a little bit slower. Well, it's hard to say because Bruce's Mill got blinkers on today. I'm just going to pretty well play it by ear. Let the horse do the running, and the last bit counts. So.
Good luck, Jack.
Thank you.
Terry, you're
a 1/16 of a mile shorter than the Queen's Plate. The winner will receive a little over $87,000 of the total purse. The weather, as we've said, is ideal, and the track, well, it is lightning fast. We have
Queen's Plate, of course, he did it by staying back off a very fast pace that softened and decayed later in the race, and that's when he swooped by everyone. He must make sure he gets the same type of ordeal today, that they're going quick enough up front, and to help him, he's got a mate, and that's Von Fleet, and he's there to tucker out the other horses.
The entry made Von Fleet, of course, owned also by Frank Stronach. All right, let's meet another contender a little more up close and personal as we rejoin Dan Kenny.
Well, Terry, when handicappers like Jim and myself look at the form, you stare down and you see that Bruce's Mill has 7 lengths to make up from the Queen's Plate. That's a lot of work to do, but trainer Mark Frostad talked to us at some length about why he thinks his horse can do it. Mark Frostad has lost the furrowed brow we saw when he had the Queen's Plate favorite in Bruce's Mill. He thinks he can turn the tables on Basquian at a distance more favorable to Bruce's Mill's style.
He was fit going into the plate. you know, we gave him some time off, a few days off after the plate, and he's been galloping. He's been going about his same routine. We didn't work him as often as we might have. It was going to be either 2 works or 1, and we went with the 1 because he's fit now, and at this stage you just want to get him happy and on his toes and ready to go on Sunday.
Bruce's Mill wore blinkers. As Bruce's Mill turns it around today, he'll go stalking big game in the fall.
If Bruce's Mill continues to run well and he performs well at the Prince of Wales, I would think certainly one of our main goals would be the Molson Million here in September, which is a terrific race, and at that point you're going to meet some really serious competitors from the States, but we'll be on our home turf and hopefully do well in the race.
I know what you're thinking. I know.
In the Queen's Plate, when you came back from the Queen's Plate, was it your suggestion to try blinkers on Bruce's Mill?
Well, you know, after the Queen's Plate, it just gave us a good opportunity to put him on him. We'd kind of felt all year he was the kind of horse that just didn't fully concentrate, but he kept winning, so it's hard to make a switch at that point. But he got beat, and I just feel that it's going to really help him focus on his race a little more.
Now, you mentioned helping him focus. A lot of trainers will put blinkers on to sharpen his speed. Is that also part of the program?
Well, no, he has pretty good speed if you want it. You know, hopefully it doesn't make him too sharp where you can't control him, which I don't think that's going to be the problem with him. His 5 or 6 races this year, he's been very controllable. We got him kind of relaxed, so I don't think I'll have a problem with that.
Now, besides what you can earn riding Bruce's Mill, he's a gelding, so there won't be any stud considerations. But you've ridden some great horses, Housebuster, and last year's Triple Crown winner, Peetsky. So I understand you've got a breeding right to those great horses.
Yes, you know, you get lucky enough to where a lot of the people will let you breed to them, and that's a good opportunity as well. And you're right, I won't get that opportunity with this horse, but I'll get a lot of satisfaction if he could turn the table today.
Well, Craig, best of luck today in the Prince of Wales Stakes. And
bettors can only have a win wager or exacta betting here.
Well, the Jockey Club doesn't want to make it too easy for everyone to win, so if you bet on the 1 entry and it wins, you'll get a $3.60 payoff. Parental Pressure is listed now at 3-2. That's a $5 payoff. Surprisingly, Bruce's Mill is 2-1. That's a $6 payoff, but he's the 3rd longest choice on the board.
You know, great information coming out of that walking ring. Let's return for some more comments then from Dan Kenny and Dan Loiselle.
Well, it's time to put up or shut up, Terry, so I'm beginning to think, well, what is a person supposed to do in a situation like this? I think it's too easy to pick a winner. You have to pick the exacta. I lean towards Parental Pressure for 1 angle. 2nd time Lasix. The horse had an unfortunate experience in Ohio. That'll make a horse a little gun-shy, so I watched how he trained after the plate. He seems to have his confidence back. It's going to take a lot to beat Baskian. You think Bruce's
I like
Mill?
Bruce's Mill. Longest shot on the board, Danny, at 2-1. The blinkers go on today. I think Craig Perret's going to have him a little close to the pace, and I think this horse has got a lot of ability. He ran a little green in his early starts in his career, but at 2-1, longest shot on the board, we're going to lean his way. Never bet a favorite.
Okay, we're on the spot, Terry and Jim. What about you?
Well, we're having a shot there of Dan Vella adjusting Basquian's tack. Interestingly enough, Jim, they're right next to us when they come out to the track, and they were washing this horse off.
Yes, it's a good thing to do. They lower the horse's temperature by putting the hose right on them. Some people in the paddock may think that he was broken out, but Greg Broadhurst, you see there assisting Danny Vella with the hat. He actually put the hose right on him to cool. I mean, that is their cooling agent, being able to sweat. You see him now, he's got his blinkers on. They're polishing him off, getting rid of that excess water.
Dan Kenny, let me bring you in now as we get a shot at a very relaxed-looking Von Fleet.
Well, Von Fleet, I think, is relaxed maybe because nobody expects him to do much in this race.
Let me just jump in. I'm sorry there, Dan Kenny. I got missed information there. It is indeed Parental Pressure. There is Basquian leaving.
And here's Parental Pressure coming to us. Parental Pressure, the spitting image of his sire, Regal Classic. This is a very handsome animal. As we heard all week long from his trainer, Fred Luschke, he's happy about how he's training here. He was not happy with the rider the last time, so he has a new rider today in Mickey Walls. But it's a very elegant-looking thoroughbred, one to really appreciate just as a feast for the eyes.
You know, in the stretch run and Parental Pressure, not too impressive at the plate. Your thoughts concerning that?
Well, as I said earlier, this Lasix angle, if a horse bleeds, it's a very jarring thing, and they'll remember it. It takes a little time to get over it, as we see Von Fleet now moseying by. Von Fleet is a horse, as I said, that I think will probably be used to force the pace. That's one advantage that the Strong Act team has, is they can dictate the pace. How far he can take it, we'll see.
Jim Bannon, when I visited this horse, he is cantankerous. He's got a very testy temperament.
He's a bit of a thin horse, but you have to appreciate his pedigree. He's by a champion out of a champion. He's by a fleet who just recently had his first Grade 1 winner at Saratoga, so that's very important. And he's trained by Bob Tiller, whereas the other part of the entry, Basquian, is trained by Danny Vella. And Bob Tiller is the hottest trainer in Ontario right now. Last weekend at Woodbine, he won 7 races. He was here the other day with a horse called Groveland that paid $102.50. And we remember Tiller, of course, from his days with the Muscadine. So he knows how to get a horse ready for the big ones.
Von Fleet, of course, sired by F. Fleet, Rick Kennedy's great horse. Dan Kenny, a look at Bruce's Mill.
Well, Bruce's Mill is a horse who was 4 for 4 going into the plate, not wearing blinkers. Now he's got them on. My own feeling is that he's a high-quality horse up to 1 1 1/8. Now we're dropping back a mile and 3/16 today, a 1/16 of a mile shorter than the Queen's Plate. He'll be in it all the way, but he may have peaked a little bit early. That's the sense I get about him.
All right, interestingly enough, Bruce's Mill, sired by Steady Growth, who was second in this race in 1979. A look at the current odds, Jim.
Well, they flipped just a little bit, Terry. 1 to 2 now on the entry, so that means a $3 payoff. You bet 2 to profit 1 and get your deuce back. Parental Pressure is now at 2 to 1, so that's a $6 payoff. And it's surprising that Bruce's Mill is now up to 5 to 2. That's a $7 payoff.
All right, the horses will be making their way out to the track shortly. This Prince of Wales Stakes, the asterisk denoting the Triple Crown.
Yeah, great point, Terry. Of course, you see, since they reshaped the Triple Crown in 1988, condensing it and moving the Prince of Wales to a different venue, we've had 4 winners from the plate come to win the Prince of Wales. Of course, Regal Intention in '88 did not, and Ali Deed also got beat, but they were both second, so it's obviously a good gauge for horses coming out of a win in the Queen's Plate to do well here.
Horses have just made our way. You know, this is the closest we have ever been to the horses making their way out onto the track. Now, let's talk about the dirt, because you've told me that even though the plate's on dirt and this race is on dirt, when you come to Fort Erie, it's dirt with a difference.
You can almost see the reddish hue to it because of the contents of clay. And horses tend to get a very good hold of this racetrack. They've watered it to make sure that it's got a good binding agent to keep it together. And of course, it's fast. Something else about the track, the stretch is much longer than at Woodbine. At Woodbine, when you come into the lane, it's 975 feet to the wire. Here, it's 1,060. So you've got a little extra room with which to play. That should help Basquian. And the turns are a little bit pinched, so you have to be able to get around them agilely. And another thing here at Fort Erie, the closeness of the backstretch to the paddock, so the horses don't get a chance to get upset with the possible long walk over. They come over very calm, and they're here before you know it, and in that beautiful, serene paddock that we just saw.
No, great look there of Basquian. The horse is acting so relaxed, so comfortable. It confirms what all of you have said. These horses are relaxed here.
We could see the dapples on him when Greg Broadhurst brought him here in front of us to put the hose on him just a minute ago. And dapples on a horse are one of the many signs of good health. So if we fear that the horse is not going to have a good race because of the ill effects of the Queen's Plate, maybe that's somewhat dispelled, because we know physically he's in great shape. If we could only see what's in his heart today.
All right, here is Basquian, a look at the Queen's Plate winner.
That's all of him, Terry. 1,100 pounds. Robust, rosy, that distinctive white strip coming down. Jack Lazon aboard, and of course, out for more revenge, I think.
He will be tested. Stablemate could be a spoiler here. Notice the color of Donnie Seymour's cap, white to differentiate from Lausanne.
And he is potentially fast. We will know in the opening furlong what his game plan is. If he's leading and going quickly, he'll be a force on the pace to tucker the others. He's breaking out now and getting hot. That's not a good sign.
Parental Pressure, big story here. Change of jockeys. Mickey Walls replaces Dave Penna.
He's feeling good. He came by us, Terry, and let out a buck and a squeal. I didn't particularly like the footing of the Queen's Plate. He will like this footing better because he worked well here the other day.
Just reared up a little and broke away for the Pony Rider there. All right, Bruce's Mill, change of equipment.
And the blinkers will limit his vision, and they will make him more speedy. He also has a shadow roll there because he's jumped a few paths. Basquian isn't the only one in the field jumping paths these days, so he'll have more concentrated vision.
Yeah, looks like every piece of equipment that can be put on a horse has been put on him. Okay, Dan Kenny has made his way to trackside. Dan Kenny, you're going to introduce us to 2 more of the contenders.
That's right, Terry. One of the advantages of a small field, we can go into a little more depth in the background of these horses. So we took time this week to talk to the connections of Parental Pressure and Von Fleet.
Well, I wasn't happy with the race, but there's nothing what you really can do about it. That's the way the race is over with, and there's no use to lose any sleep over it. He's fine, no problem there. He trains good and he does everything right, so he eats good. After the Queen's Plate, he just went to his supper and never looked out of it. He just kept eating, so no problem. He's a very healthy horse and very professional horse. No, we are really pleased to have him, and I wish every horse would be like that.
Parental Pressure has been feeling his oats since coming to Fort Erie. He gets a new rider in Mickey Walls, and his job is to make sure he judges the pace.
Well, I'm pretty sure Van Fleet will try to go to the front and set an easy pace and try to run slow by himself there, and nobody will bother him, and he hopes he hangs on, and when he can't hang on, well, Baskin will try to take over from that and make the rush on the end. So we just have to spoil it a little bit that way. So it might be a whole new setup. It's just, well, we got an entry to worry about, you know, which is always tough to run against the entry, especially in a small field. But, well, there's 3 nice horses in, well, 4 nice horses in, and that should set it up pretty good. He gets the ability, and I still think he's the best horse in Canada. Now we just have to prove it.
Von Fleet is a natural speed horse who failed to get going early in the plate. His role today is to give Bruce's Mill and Parental Pressure a hot foot the first mile to set it up for Basquian.
He's quite happy and fit. I'm quite surprised with him. He actually came out of the race in very good shape, and he's been quite happy all week, and he's training good.
Von Fleet sharpened his speed with a brilliant training move at Woodbine. Like most tourists, he's thriving in the crisp country air, and he's by the hot sire of Fleet.
There are going to be 4 very good horses. I think it's going to be a great race, and I really believe that my horse will run a lot better. Whether he can beat those top horses, because basically you're dealing with the 3 top horses, they run 1, 2, 3 in the plate, remains to be seen, but I expect a much better race for my horse. I think that Parental Pressure, Mr. Lasky's horse, and Bruce's Mill will show real good speed, and I don't expect my horse to be too far off them. And I do think that Basquian will be the 4th horse, and he'll make his run. But that's the way I can see the race coming up. Should be a really great race. Almost like a 4-horse match race.
Just 6 minutes to post now. Jim Bannon, a look at the match odds.
1-2 on the entry. That's a $3 payoff. The shift now has come that Parental Pressure is the 3rd choice, paying $7, and Bruce's Mill is 2-1. He's now the 2nd choice and will pay $6.
Pressure today in the Prince of Wales Stakes, and before we talk about Parental Pressure, let's talk a little bit about Mickey Walls. Now, you moved your tack from Woodbine to Chicago early in the summer. Your many fans want to know how are things going?
Well, since I've been to Chicago, it's been absolutely terrific. Horsemen have given me a lot of chances down there, and I'm riding a lot of winners, and the racing there is very exciting, and it's a lot like Woodbine, so I don't get very homesick.
And what prompted your move to Chicago?
Well, I was at a career stage in my career where I wanted to move on, and I figured going to Chicago, there's a few more doors to be opened down there, and just a little more exposure, so I thought I'd take a chance and just see what happened, and so far it's been so good.
Now, you've never ridden Parental Pressure in a race. Just exactly how much do you know about him?
Well, I raced against him this winter down in Tampa, and I know exactly what he can do. He's got a low speed if he wants it, and he can sit off if he wants it. So in a 4-horse race, he can be very handy.
Good luck today, Mick.
Thank you very much.
Great to see you again.
Top, we'd like to bring you in now as Basquian begins to load.
Well, thank you very much, Terry. The Queen's Plate champion, Basquian, is now in the starting gate. The next horse in there, Von Fleet. I noticed a little neck sweat on Von Fleet on post-parade. It'll be interesting to see how he performs. A little hot on parade. Parental Pressure, the next horse to load, and we're waiting on 1, Bruce's Mill, a son of steady growth. The rider, Craig Perrett, Bruce's Mill, walking into line. They're at the post. They're off in the Prince of Wales Stakes. Bruce's Mill, a little awkward beginning from the outside, but sent right to the front is Von Fleet. Von Fleet has the early lead. Bruce's Mill has recovered. Parental pressure in tight quarters there in third, and Baskin is fourth as they move in front of us for the first time, and Bruce's Mill comes on to take the early lead. Von Fleet down on the rail in second. Parental pressure is attending the pace in third, and Baskin is going to try to run on from fourth. The first quarter was in 23-2. They're running through the clubhouse turn. Bruce's Mill, Craig Perrette coddling him on a 2-length advantage. Parental pressure comes on second now. Von Fleet is back to third. Jack Lozon has Baskin in fourth position, back about 7 lengths off the lead of Bruce's Mill as they start their journey along the backstretch, half a mile in 47 seconds. It's Bruce's Mill by 1 3/4. Parental pressure keeping him in his sights in second. Von Fleet is third. Baskin moves in a closer fourth, just 4 lengths off the lead now as they run toward the far turn. A half mile to run in the Prince of Wales Stakes. It's Bruce's Mill by 1 3/4. Parental pressure is second. Von Fleet at the rail in third, and gearing up on the outside is Baskin. Jack Lozon has him just 2.5 lengths off the lead midway of the far turn. It's Bruce's Mill as they come to the quarter pole. He kicks in and widens to 2. Baskin in hot pursuit on the extreme outside. Parental pressure between horses. Von Fleet is next to the rail, but they have to catch Bruce's Mill. It's Bruce's Mill into the stretch, leading it by 3. Baskin full out to catch him. Parental pressure is third. Von Fleet to the inside fourth. They come to the final 16th. It's Bruce's Mill by 3.5 lengths, and nobody's going to catch him. Here is the finish, and Bruce's Mill wins the Prince of Wales Stakes easily. Baskin second, parental pressure third, and Von Fleet was fourth. Well, Bruce's Mill, Terry and Jim, was never really threatened the running time. 1:53 4/5. That is a track record. Pietski's track record set last year is broken in a year's time. An impressive performance by Bruce's Mill.
Impressive indeed, Dan Loisel. Can you believe it? Another track record for an Earl Mack-owned Chestnut 3-year-old. Bruce's Mill wins the second leg of the Triple Crown. Earl Mack returns to the winner's circle. Pietski last year, Bruce's Mill today. What an impressive run for Bruce's Mill, Jim.
Terry, some of the things we said happened. Some of the horses that did run their best races in the Queen's Plate did not have it as good today. We see the winner duck out, as Danny Loisel mentioned, leaving the starting gate. And it was obvious from the beginning that Von Fleet was there to put a little pressure on, but didn't have the speed to stay with Bruce's Mill. We talked earlier about the blinkers that Mark Frostad put on Bruce's Mill, and we thought that would give him more speed. And as they head into the clubhouse turn with about 7 furlongs to go, he's already got this race wrapped up. He's sitting there kindly with a half in 47 by the time they get to the backstretch. And when some of the other horses came to him on the far turn, as we see now, with 2.5 furlongs to go, Bruce's Mill has already built a 2.5 length lead. On the outside, Jack Lozon exhorts Baskin to go on, but perhaps that pre-race incident took its toll. As they come to the top of the stretch now, crafty Craig Perrette. He didn't follow an empty horse here. He's ridden 3 Breeders' Cup winners and the winner of the Kentucky Derby. He knew he had a live horse. Loping along is Bruce's Mill, on the wrong lead there, but very effective. And in behind, chasing in vain, but still a very gritty performance when you consider the final time. The record-smashing time is Baskin. This is Bruce's Mill.
Cannot believe it. 1:53 4, besting Pietski's time. Of course, Pietski, the last Triple Crown winner. Bruce's Mill, if you win, has won the rubber match.
And here we go. Bruce's Mill on top, of course. Baskin second, parental pressure third, and the Rabbit Von Fleet fourth. Interesting, Terry. As a 2-year-old last year here, Bruce's Mill was in an ignominious state. He couldn't work fast enough to make the work tab. He couldn't go fast enough to get an official time. He went fast enough today to run faster than any horse has ever run over this course. What a turnaround in the course of a year.
It is incredible. Bruce's Mill has done what his sire's steady growth could not do, and that is win this Prince of Wales stake. Craig Perrette guides another Earl Mack Canadian bred to victory. It was a sensational ride. And you know, when I look at this chestnut, I harken back to Pietski. Can't help but think back to that year.
Of course, the same colors as you mentioned at the outset. And you can't help but be happy for Ted Kennedy, too. Teeter found the mare of this horse in relative obscurity. It got into the hands of King Haven, who bred the horse. We must give them full credit for the breeding. That's the great news. The somewhat more somber news is the fact that the mare has already been sold at auction. And in full to Charlie Barley for just $10,000 before this horse became famous. But congratulations to Kinghaven and to Earl Mack.
I see Dan Kenny making his way over to Craig Perrette. Dan, we'll go to you.
Craig Perrette, you outdid yourself. You won and broke your own record that you set with Pietski just a year ago. Now, the question that I saw as he came down the lane, he's breaking a track record on his wrong lead all the way down.
Yeah, he switched a couple times down the lane, but again, that's why we put the blinkers on. As soon as he gets away from competition, he thinks it's over. We made the adjustment today. It worked out well for him. He responded well, and he just didn't really have any challenges to get his mind focused and right to it.
Do you have any clue that he could run as fast as Pietski?
Well, I didn't know if he could run as fast as Pietski. I mean, I was just hoping he could be half as good, and he's going to have a real big year, but the blinkers really helped him a lot today.
Well, you made the right move. This is more fun than running against Holy Bull at Monmouth Park. Terry and Jim, back to you.
Change of equipment worked out. We'll return with official results.
The pace was a little quicker than I thought. The horse was up close. I mean, he ran his race, ran a terrific race. I can't take nothing away from him. Just maybe the blinkers helped out Bruce's Mill today.
Quick time.
Yeah, it was. There's no question.
The Breeders' Stakes is on the grass in 3 weeks' time. How do you think your horse will handle the lawn?
Well, apparently he's bred for the grass, so I think he'll handle it well. He seems to handle everything else well, so we'll see what happens in 3 weeks' time.
Well, thanks for taking the time, Jack. You ran good.
Thank you very much.
Terry?
Dan Loiselle, a little bit of a dejected jockey there, understandably so. We haven't mentioned Mark Frostad, who trained, of course, Bruce's Mill to the win as we look in at the presentation. Prices paid, Jim Bannon.
Just a little better than 2-1 for Bruce's Mill, and of course just the exactor payoff, but it was pretty good. It's almost 3.5-1. We have the 3-1 numbers, $8.70. That's Bruce's Mill on to Baskian, and a great payday, of course, adds to that total. It keeps going up.
Earl Mack, arm embraced around Craig Perrette. Presenting is Robert McKenzie, the Consul General, located at the Canadian Consulate just over the Peace Bridge in Buffalo. He's done it again. Earl Mack, attack.
That's right. The Mack is back, and I can't help but feel good for Lou Cavaleris on the end of the reception line there. We see Earl Mack, who made a great impassionate speech at the Sovereign Awards last year when accepting the trophy, Horse of the Year, on behalf of Pietski. How lucky can a man be to have a good one 2 years in a row?
We had a lot of talent. I mean, I would never think that he was going to break Pietski's record. He's got a lot to prove before he's a Pietski. But there again, you know, it's another day. Mark, he did a fantastic job with him. We felt that he might have needed some blinkers to get him concentrating. He made a decision. He worked with him, put him on him. Here you go. Here's the results. He breaks a record today.
Thanks, Craig. We look forward to seeing you back here at Fort Erie for the conclusion in the Breeders' Stakes. And now back to Terry and Jim.
Pressure third and Von Fleet fourth. All right, let's talk about who's going to be affected.